Hey,
Good morning.
good morning. Good morning.
How is everyone this morning?
Warm and fuzzy. That's me.
Feeling good, feeling really good.
Yep, yep.
Well, you both look fantastic, I have to say.
Thank you.
Oh,
You do too.
yep,
Thank
yep. You
you.
got
Thank
your
you.
Christmas red on. I see.
Yes, I have to wear my Christmas red.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So, anyway, good morning to all of you out there. We're so happy you joined us this morning on this
Yep.
chat session on the This Way Network. And we've
Mm-hmm.
already got some people there in the comments. Good morning, AC and Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to have
Yep.
y'all there. So,
Yeah.
Mia, we have talked actually twice before already about surviving the holidays, but
Yes,
this time we're going to be talking about thriving
yes,
during the holidays. And the
yes.
title is Gimme Five. So I think you mean more than just a high five, right?
That's right. That's right. Whenever somebody says, give me a high five, it's like, good job. You did a good job. Well, today we're going to talk about 5 things we can do not only to survive the holidays, but to actually thrive and
Mm-hmm.
feel good during this holiday
That's
season,
right.
these seasons.
Well, that
That's what
sounds
we do.
wonderful to me because I know a lot of people are already struggling
Oh,
with,
yeah.
oh, there's so much to do still, and we're only 2 days away, and I still have to do this and that, and. And honest to goodness, I saw a video the
Yep.
other day on one of the social media accounts with a person who has ADHD. I so related to this, I have to tell you,
Yeah.
because they were sitting on a couch and they were sipping some hot cocoa, and they said, "It's 2 days to Christmas, and I still haven't done this and this and this, but I'm going to sit here on the couch and wait until my panic kicks in
Huh.
and allows me to get the energy and the motivation to get up off the couch and get some things done. And I will get it all done. I
Mm-hmm.
just have to wait for that motivation to come. So,
You
That
know,
is so real.
I think there's something really beautiful about not panicking. I think it's such a
Mm,
beautiful thing. I think when panic
mhm,
strikes and you go, "No, I'm not gonna panic, and I've done enough, and I'm not gonna push it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna enjoy right where I am, and that's it." And sometimes, trust me, I have had holidays come in, everybody's, "Oh, it's New Year's. Oh," and everybody's trying to do all this stuff. I've actually treated myself to a
yes.
fantastic dinner. I mean, went to the store, I cooked,
mhm,
I relaxed. I
Yeah.
just went and took a great shower and just watched TV while everybody's running around frantic. I said, not gonna do it.
mhm.
And I
Yeah.
took it so easy, had a great dinner, and I was completely stress free, completely.
Mhm.
And I was
Yeah.
all by myself. And sometimes you just have to do that rather than
Mhm,
put all that pressure on yourself. But
mhm.
you really have time to think about all the things that you have to be thankful for from over the whole year.
Yes.
And matter of fact, before we jump into it, I have got breaking news. Hold on, I have something to share. Da,
All
da, da, da,
right.
da. Where are my little things at? Where are my little things? Media assets. Here we go. I am very excited. You won't believe it. Real quick, everybody knows Garth Brooks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh
Garth
yeah, for
Brooks.
sure.
Well, guess what? A lot of people don't know who inspired Garth Brooks, who started this multi-million record selling double, triple platinum country artist, who started his career, who really inspired him. Well, believe it or not, it was his mom, Colleen, and his sister, Betsy. And guess what? Da, da, da,
Ah.
da. I have a CD, and I am going to be the marketing arm to roll out Betsy. And Betsy, this
Oh,
is Garth Brooks' half sister. And Garth Brooks'
wow.
half sister and his mom, Colleen, produced this CD and DVD. And my wonderful little company and a dear colleague, Marvin Spruill from Country Soul Music Awards, we have been tasked with pushing this out. So
Wow.
if you love Garth Brooks and the people who inspired him to go into country, It is Betsy. And Betsy is his half sister. And a lot of times, if you watch Garth Brooks performing back in the day, he had an all male band, but there was one blonde on the stage, this lady. That was his half sister.
Oh, that's cool.
Fantastic.
So Garth never, he didn't want to go, well, this is my little baby sister. He wanted her to make it on her own. And so, but actually, sadly, Garth's mom passed away a few years ago, and his sister did too. So this is a actual celebration of life tribute to Garth Brooks' mom and sister, Betsy. And so if you love Garth Brooks, if you love good country music, all you have to do is go to www.garths with an S, garthsmomandsister.com. garthsmomandsister.com. I'll put it in the chat for all the happy chat people, and that's it. So that was my blessed praise report. Yay! So that's my praise report. But yeah, I'm excited about that.
Wow,
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? That might make a good gift.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, if you're still looking,
Mm-hmm.
I hope all of you have your shopping done, whatever shopping you were going to do. But, if you're still looking. So, and Mia, since we're talking about things that make the holidays easier, and maybe that's our mindset, but maybe it's, other little tips and so forth. Here's one thing I want to share that I just love. I've been collecting in my mind over the years, not cobwebs. I know you were thinking that, but
No,
I've been collecting in my mind all those little things that I've been hearing over the years that I've heard people say that they did that I could see made such a difference for them and for their families, particularly during the holidays. And one of them I will never forget because I thought this is so brilliant and I love how she did this. So there was a woman and her husband. Her name was Marilyn. And Marilyn had 2 kids, a son and a daughter. And when they got older and they got married, they had their own kids. Now they had in-laws. And, for a couple of years, they had that, well, the in-laws live like 30 minutes away and they want to be able to see the grandkids on Christmas Day too. And so now they're trying to go to the in-laws and then come back to Marilyn's house and have Christmas Day with her family. And she began to see how stressful it was for that young family to do that. So she and her husband talked it over. And what they decided to do instead, the next year, they told the kids, all right, we're going to have our family celebration on December 22nd. It might be a different date each year, but it was sometime before Christmas. And I think there was a couple of years they even picked a date after Christmas, like December 27th or something like that. And she said, oh, and by the way, kids, Dad and I will not be available on Christmas Day to be with you. Dad and I have a date. We are going to go to a Chinese restaurant and then we're going to a movie. And we plan to make this a tradition.
Wow.
And she said the reason we did that was we didn't want our kids to be stressed and pulled in 2 directions. And of course, they were wanting to be able to stay home a little bit and plan their own celebration too. She said we wanted to free them up to do that. And of course, we still wanted time with them for Christmas, but we didn't care what day it was on. So we decided to be flexible about that. And we gave that as a gift to our kids, but also let them know, hey, don't feel like, oh no, Mom and Dad, we can't do that because then you'll be sitting home alone on Christmas. And she said, no, we let them know we've made other plans and we're happy with what we're doing. So I thought, what a remarkable gift that is. And I really loved that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Making a new tradition, setting boundaries, communicating your intentions. That is so powerful. And I love that because, I believe that inside of us, we already have the tools to thrive during the holidays. It's already inside of us. We've learned it even from our childhood. And that's why I like the title of today's show, Give Me 5, because usually adults don't really do that with each other and say, oh, give me five, it's
Yeah.
something you do with kids, right? Like, give me five, but then
Mhm.
you show that you appreciate what they're doing. They were maybe obedient, they excelled at something. And I want us to kind of think about that as
Mhm.
we talk about this topic. What are things that came from childhood, right? That
Mhm.
helped us to thrive, that we can
Mm.
pull into our adulthood, that we can actually remember how useful and effective this was and kind of go back to that,
Mhm.
right? I can't think of one child that doesn't feel very happy and jovial when you say, "Give me five," They
Yeah.
feel good, and they want to do it again.
Yeah.
So I want us to kind of keep that in mind as we talk about it. And both of you really hit some beautiful
Mhm.
gems of gold, and,
Mhm.
and what you both were talking about with the music, with
Mhm.
Rodney, and then Nina, you talking about the building of a new tradition. There was so
Mhm.
much there. And if you don't mind, I want to start with, I want you to use your imagination really quick,
Okay.
and think
Okay.
about when you were a kid and you were going to school. What was your favorite time of the day during the school hours? Okay, Rodney, I see your hand. Yes, tell us.
I really, really, really loved chocolate pudding painting. I loved it because you could lick
Ooh,
your finger and paint at the same time. I
I
love
love
that.
that.
I used to enjoy
Wow.
that. I remember that, chocolate pudding painting, enjoying your
That is
work.
so somebody should write
Wish
that
my
down.
art teacher had known about that. My
Right,
goodness, I didn't get to do any of that.
I
right.
did, yep, I
Well,
remember
So,
that.
I may have misunderstood the question.
what
So
was
you're
your
asking
favorite time of the
for
day when you were a kid,
the
during school
favorite
hours?
time of the day during
Mhm.
school hours.
Yeah.
Art, mine was art and painting.
Yep.
I
Yep.
didn't become an artist, but I love chocolate pudding. So anyway,
Yeah.
continue on.
That's beautiful.
So, honestly, this is probably going to reveal my age more than I would like it to, but um, I remember in third grade, one of my favorite things about the whole day was that right after lunch, we would come back to the classroom. Our teacher would tell us to put our hands on our desk and put our head down on our hands. We could fall asleep if we wanted to, but
Mm.
most of us didn't because she took out a chapter book and every day she read us a chapter from the book.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so we followed the adventures of the Bobbsey twins and Nancy Drew and uh, all sorts of different stories that she introduced to us. And every day we looked forward to hearing the next chapter.
Mm.
Hmm.
So, and I
Wow.
loved that. It was something we did in community, and yet it was calm, it was quiet. I really loved that.
Wow, that's beautiful. Man, okay, so that is really good. And I would say one of my favorite times was actually getting
Mm.
outside for recess because you
Oh,
could
yeah.
play, run around, scream. You didn't have to be quiet, and you could engage in all these games. And actually, that is one of the tools. And you guys have already, so obviously, for our viewers, you're going to get so many tools. Like they just gave some right there, being able to
Mhm.
use your senses, taste, touch, see,
Mhm.
right? And then with Nina having a time of quiet and calm built in. But when I think about the Give Me Five, the one I want to share is getting outside.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
power of getting
Mhm.
outside is humongous. Okay. When we're thinking about thriving during the holidays,
Mhm.
we want, and it actually brings in all the things that you all talked about because your senses are brought in when you're outside. You get
Yeah.
to look at the
Mhm.
colors, right?
Mhm.
You get
Mhm.
to, okay. So research has shown us that the power of getting outside in nature is so amazing for our mental health, for
Mhm.
our well-being, right? Why? Because
Mhm.
sunlight, it boosts your mood, right? It's
Mhm.
going to help you have endorphins. It's going to increase your serotonin. You're going to be getting fresh air, which actually helps to improve your sleep. And
Yeah.
so, as
Mhm.
we think about thriving during the holidays, it's going to engage all your senses, which is some of the things I heard you all kind of mention, being able to taste that yummy chocolate and then
Yep.
paint something. That's amazing. And being
Yeah.
able to be calm, right? All those
Mhm.
things are so helpful. And being outside is one of the 1 out of 5 things that I would definitely say that we can do this holiday season in order to thrive. And I really
Mhm.
want us to think about this because right now our nation is experiencing so much so many unknowns, right?
Yep.
There's a
Mhm.
lot of turmoil in the world. There's a lot that feels like it's out of our control. But these 5 things, and even the things that we are talking about that aren't on the list of 5,
Mhm.
these are things we can control, right? And it's
Mhm.
so important for us to focus on that. Okay, there's a lot I can't control. Who's in office? I can't control what's happening perhaps in my neighborhood. I can't control what's on the news, what's happening. But
Mhm.
what can I control right now during the holidays? I may not be able to control who comes, who doesn't, but what can I control? And so as we continue to talk about these things, we can control whether or not we'll get outside, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And
That's true.
yeah, we can. And we can control, maybe some people may be bedridden. And
Mhm.
okay, Mia, I can't get outside, but someone can open a window in your house and let in fresh air. They
Mhm.
can open the blinds and let the sunshine come in, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
We can listen
Mhm.
to nature sounds on our
Mhm.
phone. We can still bring nature inside to us, even if for some reason we're confined. Maybe someone's watching this today and they're, incarcerated. And I believe
Mhm.
people who are incarcerated have a time where they still get outside,
Mhm.
right? But we can
Mhm.
we can bring outdoors into us in those special
Mhm.
situations.
That's
Yeah.
True. That
right.
is so true. And I just want to add to that. There was one time a long time ago when I had been ill with something, and theoretically I'd gotten over it, but I just couldn't seem to get my strength back. And I
Mhm.
felt weak every day and just felt like I couldn't do very much. And someone suggested that I go outside and sit in the sun.
Mhm.
And I did. I was out there for
Absolutely.
about an hour, and it was remarkable to me how
Absolutely.
much different I felt when I came in. It was like, I don't know, it's like something completely shifted
Yeah,
Mhm.
inside me, and physically, I felt even stronger.
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it
The
was it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a really huge tool, and as we go over, and I love what Robin said. Robin commented and she said, it's funny
Mhm.
how, when her kids
There
would
you
want
go.
her to do something, she said, whenever they want something, I'd say, give me 5, and she'd do it, you know? And
Mhm.
so that's really great. And honestly, these are things that you can do, that the power of observing the ants, right?
Mhm.
Of being
Mhm.
outside and, oh my goodness, is that a bunny rabbit? Or watching the waves as they hit
Mhm.
the rocks, for those of us who live in areas where there's a beach or a
Mhm.
forest, or even just a park, watching children play
Yeah,
and be innocent, you know?
yeah.
Mhm.
Or the squirrels jump from tree to tree. I remember doing that when I was taking care of my dad.
Mhm.
Mm.
And it was, those long days. I was his primary caregiver, and I couldn't
Wow.
leave him.
Mhm.
And so, but when he was asleep, I
Mhm.
would go outside and sit and I had a monitor that allowed me to hear when he would
Yeah.
wake up. But
Mhm.
I'd sit out there in the sun because I knew how important it was for my health, my mental
Absolutely.
health, and my physical health to be
Mhm.
outside. And I'd go sit in the sun and just watch the squirrels chase each
Yeah.
other around in the
Mm.
Yeah.
trees.
Another great thing,
Yeah.
I lived in Long Beach, California as a kid, and during the Christmas time, there was a thing called Christmas Tree Lane. It was in
Mm.
on the east side of Long Beach, and this thing had been around for years, and the city would come, and it was like maybe 6, 7 blocks, and it was I guess like a strip of grass and trees, and they would put all of these Christmas decorations on Christmas Tree Lane,
Mm.
and you would have to wait maybe 30 minutes to get into Christmas Tree Lane, and then they had speakers playing Christmas music, so all the way
Nice.
through, it would be playing Christmas music, and that was just the one time of the year, and it would take you 45 minutes to go through this thing, but you would just creep along. And I remember being little kids plastered to the window and just looking at all the Christmas lights. And there was thousands of Christmas lights.
Wow.
And it was a special. And so maybe that's what families could do. And, you might not have the money to be able to buy a bunch of elaborate gifts, but you can make a big thermos of hot chocolate and put marshmallows in and get the kids in the car and just go for a drive and go into different neighborhoods and look at the lights,
Right.
rate
That's
them.
Right.
beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
something fun
beautiful.
like that. And
Wow.
it's still family time.
hmm
Yeah, that sounds really fun and really incredible. I love that you talked about the lights because it's a change of scenery, which that's what being outside also does. It gives you
Yep.
that change of your environment, which is so
Mhm.
helpful for your brain. Could I tell you a number two? I want to ask
Sure.
you this.
Sure.
So remember, we're tapping into our childhood, right? And things that may have happened when we were kids that we didn't realize were so helpful to our brain, our
Mhm.
psyche, our health, right? And
Mhm.
so I want to ask you, what was your favorite exercise when you were a kid? What did you enjoy doing? Or at least you liked the most. Maybe you didn't like exercise, but you're like, okay, if we did this one, I could do that. All right, I see Rodney.
I enjoyed me and my buddies. It was a guy named Jeff Walker and my brother and another guy named Leroy Wise and another guy named George. We would ride bikes. And so I was the little runt of my brother's friends. And so, if I rode with them, they were all responsible for me. So they were like, hey, careful, and so everybody was always looking out for me. And so I was riding, behind everybody, and they would kind of put me in the middle of the pack. And so, or they'd put me up front. So I was like the leader and everybody was following me. So I enjoyed, just getting out riding bikes and those are, that's, childhood, those memories of just being out and the air blowing in our face and just, out.
Mhm.
And, sometimes there was a place called Dolly Madison's and they made little cakes and pies and hostess cakes and all these different things. So we would ride to Dolly Madison and we'd all get a pie and everybody would take care of me because I didn't have any money. So everybody had to take care of me. And I would get my pie and I was the leader of the bunch. So everybody would have to chip in and take care of me. So that was fun being a little kid.
Yay.
Mhm.
Awesome. What about you, Nina?
Well, actually, that's exactly what I was going to say was riding my bike with my sister and my brother and my friends when I was growing up. The freedom on that bike, that
Mhm.
feeling of freedom and that you're moving forward and, you've got the breeze in your face and there's all the sunshine and the trees and
Mhm.
it's just I just remember that so fondly, and we actually had some trails near our house too. It really was nothing probably more than a very big empty lot, but
Mhm.
somebody had made some dirt bike trails through
Nice.
Mhm.
there, and so we would go in on our and ride over those hills and so forth, and just had the best time.
Mhm.
Ooh, okay. So this is so good. And what I'm enjoying is seeing your faces as you talk about it. You know what I mean? And bringing those happy memories back to the forefront, which is also a tool, by the way. But for me, it would have been kickball, okay? Because for our
Oh, yeah.
community, we would all get outside and it'd be tons of kids out there and we're playing kickball was just a simple game of kicking the ball and running to bases. And it was fun and and
Mhm.
and we were just running as fast as you could and then having to stop before somebody caught you. And this is actually in the give me five. So if number one was getting outside, number two would be exercise.
Mhm.
And
Mm,
and the
mhm.
reason I wanted to hear the stories first is because sometimes when people hear exercise, you go, oh, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, it's the one thing I'm not doing, or oh, I
Mhm.
hate exercise.
Yes.
But if
It
you go
sounds
back
like
to your
boring repetition, and I'm gonna be
right,
sore
right.
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you think about your childhood, you probably got a lot of exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it depends on what generation you're growing up in, right?
Mhm.
Because some generations aren't outside as much as others. But we
Mhm.
can tap into the beauty of past generations and saying, hey, exercise doesn't always have to be how many reps did I do, but what if I get a good game going? I
Oh,
get on
yeah.
a bike. I
Mhm.
I I I take a good walk with a friend, right? Because research has shown being able to, number one, get outside, but then doing exercise for at least 30 minutes, even 45 minutes, not only can help you lose weight, but
Mm-hmm.
it once again increases those endorphins. It reduces your cortisol, which is part of having stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so exercise is going to be a huge way for people to actually thrive during the holidays. And you'd be surprised. Like for me, I had an injury, like I broke my toes recently, and they've gotten better. I'm out of my cast, but then I just had several injuries back to back. And so all I could really do was some leg raises, right? I would hold onto my counter and just raise my leg, right, on
Mm-hmm.
both sides. I just did 10 on each leg. And oh my goodness, it boosted my mood. It made me get that little check mark off, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our brains feel good to be able to check, I did something, you know?
Yep.
And so I encourage people, during this holiday season, what if you have just a little small exercise goal, nothing flamboyant, and I'm just going to do 5 whatever you can do. I'm going to do 5 arm circles to the front, to the back, I'm done.
Yes, yes.
To be able to say that I did exercise, you'd be surprised how little things would actually be helpful. But even, hey, what if your family this year, after they eat, they decide they're going to have a family game outside, or we're going to go downtown and rent those bikes that you can rent to drive around in the city. There's
Mhm.
different ways to get it in during the holiday season and not feel like it's cumbersome.
Mhm.
That's one of the things my family always loved on
Mhm.
Christmas Day, particularly the boys,
Mhm.
was that after the meal and after the gifts had been opened, etcetera, they would go outside and throw a football around with their
Yeah.
grandfather.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
he had a really good arm, so he'd throw it really far, and they'd go running for it and, see which one of them could get it and bring it back. And they just loved doing that. And even the girls liked going out because
Yeah.
even though they didn't usually participate in that part, some of them did, but most of the
Mhm.
time they didn't. But they loved watching, they loved being cheerleaders, for what the guys were doing. And they would end up doing gymnastics,
Nice.
practicing their gymnastics moves or ballet or whatever while they were out in the yard. So that was a lot of
Mhm.
fun for them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
And
so
Mia, I
good.
do want to add too, I was thinking about this when you said this a minute ago with the exercise. Many years ago, back when I was in my 30s, I think, I've never been an athlete.
Okay.
And I got to a place, I had 3 boys under the age of 3, and I
Wow.
felt like I was tired all the time, you know? And I was not getting any exercise for myself, and I knew that, and I thought, "I need to do something, but what am I gonna do?" And I talked to some people, and all I was really thinking was, "You know what? I'm so weak, physically
Mhm.
weak. I get out of breath going to the mailbox, so
Yeah.
I need to do something about that." And someone recommended I start lifting weights, weight
Yes.
training. So I started lifting weights.
Absolutely.
Nothing big, believe me, because I couldn't do anything big. But I started doing it,
Yes.
and one of the first things I noticed, and I was shocked at this, because the only thing I was trying to do was get my
It's
muscles
fine.
stronger. But
Mhm.
I was shocked to realize that the more I exercised, the more energy I
Yes.
had.
Yes.
I mean, I thought it was gonna use up what little energy I had, make me more tired. It didn't. It had
Yes.
the opposite
Mhm.
effect,
Absolutely.
and not only that, but I slept better at night. I
Yes.
could not get over that either.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's so beautiful. I'm glad you said that. And it's so important to actually weightlifting at least twice a week is so helpful for our brain, even just a minimum of twice a week.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
research tells us that, the older that we are, the more need we have for lifting weights because we're
Mhm.
actually losing muscle as we age. And
Yes.
so we can actually get it back though, and that's beautiful, or at least get some level of it back by muscle toning and building. And I
Mhm.
love how you said, it's not like you had like deadlifting and all of that, which you could
Right.
get to that actually, because we have people out here that are like 90 plus years old who actually
Mhm.
deadlift and power lift and stuff like that. A lady that I watch sometimes. Her name is Ernestine Shepherd, and I believe she's in her 90s at this point, and she does all of that stuff. She's like ripped
Wow.
90-year-old woman. She's a bodybuilder, okay? And so age is just a number, right? It really can be. And so I love that you said that you picked up weights. What's Robin said, I've been the primary caregiver to many of my family members, and what it's not been easy being the person who needed to care. That's just not me or what I'm used to, I should say. That makes sense. Yeah. Being in that new role, right? And when I hear Robin say that, it makes me think about um my husband and I are considered the sandwich generation, where we are responsible for our parents and our young kids, and so
Wow.
finding time to, do things for yourself is actually really, really important, which leads me to give me five, right? If we've covered two, one of them being getting outside and how wonderful it is. Number two, being able to just exercise, even if it's something small.
Mm,
Number three is going to be brain exercises.
mm,
Brain exercises. Okay, this is so important for
mhm.
thriving during the holidays or any time of your life. And there's so many ways to do it. The saying goes, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right?
That's
And so, first of all, we can start really simple. Brain exercises are things that are going to cause your brain to break out of its routine of what it usually does. Okay.
Mhm.
mhm.
And so, I have a couple of them. I had to write it down so I wouldn't forget. And so, we can think when we think about brain exercises, they run the gamut. So, one of them would be actually learning something new, right? Or engaging in a new activity. And
Mhm.
some people think, oh, I'm going to take up word puzzles. And word puzzles are great and they're awesome, but it's almost like only working out one arm, right? I'm only
Mhm.
going
Mhm.
to do arm curls on one arm and I'm done. No, there's
Mhm.
other ways to work your brain, whether it's learning a new instrument,
Mhm.
painting, right? Just what is something, doing math problems, even simple math problems that you already know. Like, I'm just going to take time to do simple addition and subtraction problems, right?
Yeah.
So much research shows that doing those brain exercises are really good. Listen,
Mm.
here's another one, being able to attack your ants, automatic negative thoughts. There is so much talk about automatic negative thoughts. The idea is that your brain does lie to you. Okay.
Mhm.
By the time we're 35, anyone on here who's not 35, this isn't your state yet, but
Mhm.
35 and above, we are on automatic, right? And we have to learn how to come out of that automatic mindset or mode.
Right.
And,
Mhm.
and, and one of the things that we suffer from are ants in abundance, automatic negative thoughts. And so
Mhm.
we have to challenge them. And ants can, just like they can wreck your home, real ants, how they can
Mhm.
wreck your home, wreck your food, ants can wreck your mood, they can wreck your relationships with people. And so a
Right.
lot of people are going to struggle to enjoy the holidays because they have ants up here. Maybe the ant sounds like this, nobody likes me. No
Mhm.
one really wants to
Mhm.
be around me. I'm,
Mhm.
I'm not as attractive as I used to be. The
Mhm.
best days of my life are behind me. Those
Mhm.
are all automatic negative thoughts. And they're negative because of the impact they have on you.
Right.
Right. And sometimes we can
Mhm.
easily think that they're true. I'm X age. My best days are behind me. No, they're not. Your best days can be ahead of you if you
Mhm.
allow them to be. Right.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
we have to find ways to identify the ant. What is that negative thought that's bothering you?
Mhm.
The idea no one likes me. Here's how we would fight it. We ask our aunts, is that true? Is
Right.
that really true? No one likes you? No one at all? And sometimes we can say, "Oh, yeah, no one at all likes me." Are you sure? you know? Because there's always at least someone that likes you or that admires you. You
Mhm.
just may not realize it. Maybe you don't like you right now
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
whatever reason, which leads to another brain exercise, and that is the exercise of self-compassion, right?
Mhm.
Um, and when we think about self compassion, we're going to think about what would you say to a friend you really care about that was down, that was
Mhm.
hurting, that was in need of
Mhm.
Mhm.
care? Would you kick them while they're down? Or
No.
would you would help
No.
them, right? You would comfort them, you would console them.
Mhm.
Well, the
Mhm.
same thing you would do to that really good friend that you care about, that you wanna see doing well, you're gonna speak those words to yourself.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
going to give
Mhm.
that grace to
Mhm.
yourself,
That's
and
right.
it does so much for your mental well-being. There's more, but I wanna pause and see, what are you all thinking about that?
Oh, I'm just,
Yeah.
I was sitting here remembering a counseling session I had once because I was actually covering this exact ground.
Yes.
And this
Mhm.
was several years ago, and I had gotten into that negative thinking. And I
Mhm.
honestly thought, yeah, nobody cares whether I'm here or not. I'm not important to anyone, etc. And I was telling her this, and she said, if you had a friend who said this to you, what would you tell them?
Mhm.
And I thought about a few of my friends, and I said, well, I would tell them that they are important to me. And, you
Mhm.
know, and I went on and she said, okay, so why can't you tell that to you? I said, well, I'm just trying to tell myself the truth about my situation. And she said, oh, so you'd be lying to your friend if you told them that somebody does care? I thought, well, no, I'd be telling my friend the truth. And she said, then why isn't it the truth with you?
That's so
Mm.
good.
And that really caught me up short. It made me realize for the first time, oh my goodness, I have adopted this attitude and
Mhm.
it's not true. I've just focused on the wrong thing.
Man, that's so beautiful. And I love that you said that, because, and people can go back and research this. They can go and look for cognitive distortions, okay?
Mhm.
Ways that our brain lies to us. There's so much work out there about cognitive distortions, okay?
Mhm.
And so we want to look at those. And some of the ones that people often do, and I'm going to tell them myself, is mind reading, right? Because if I
Mhm.
say no
Mhm,
one likes me, no one cares about me, I'm reading other people's minds, and can I really do that?
mhm,
That's a cognitive distortion. That is a lie that our brains tell us. And so often people get into mind reading, thinking they know what other people are thinking when you really honestly don't. You can't base it off their body language or their facial expressions, or even sometimes their words, because a lot of times, even if someone is spewing negativity at you and telling you horrible things about you, more likely than not, it's their own reflection. It's coming
Mhm.
mhm,
from within, right?
Mhm.
Even
mhm,
if
That's right.
it seems like it has a basis in reality, a lot of times the negative things people are saying about us are things they feel about themselves. It's their own reality coming forward.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
even in that, we can't necessarily trust it. Another cognitive distortion that we have to attack, because it's an ant, that is fortune telling, telling the future. You
Right.
know, think nothing's gonna work out, you know. Unfortunately, I hear some of my friends and even colleagues, they're very concerned about the president that we have right now. I have
Mhm.
colleagues and friends that are so grateful for the president we have right now. I have
Mhm.
colleagues and friends that are scared to death of the president we have right now. And
Mhm.
they get into fortune telling. Oh, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and it's going to
Right.
be
mhm,
terrible. And even unfortunately, certain media outlets try to fortune tell, and
Mhm.
because they get the clicks from fear,
Right.
mhm,
That's
we
right.
have
mhm,
to control we have control over that. And so we have to even look at those things and say, hey, is this fortune telling?
Mhm.
And is
mhm,
this helpful? Because that's another way to attack your ants. Some
Mhm.
things might be true, but they may not be helpful,
Right.
mhm,
right? And if
mhm.
it's not helpful, then it's harmful, right?
Mhm.
Right,
Jesus
right.
even said it, and this is This Way Network. Jesus said, I have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now, which meant
Mhm.
Jesus understood that there were times in life where there may have been something true, but it wasn't helpful for the people at this time. And so, therefore, he left that out at that moment, because there's a time for everything, right?
Mhm.
Mhm,
And
That's
if your
right.
if
mhm,
your thoughts are not causing you peace,
Right.
joy,
Mhm.
strength, even if you have to
mhm,
face your hard mistakes that you have truly made, but
Mhm.
looking at them from a place of grace and resilience, and you
Mhm.
know
mhm,
what? This did happen. However, that does not define me.
Right.
Right.
right?
Right.
So these are things that we can do. So automatic negative thoughts on our website, and I believe you can see it painunwasted.org. There is a free brain detox, okay? And so it can help you kind of and I love brain exercises like this, and there's so many. But what I love about the brain detox at our website is it helps you name your thoughts and just kind of dump, like I feel good, I feel bad, I feel fat, I feel ugly, I feel all these things. And then
Mhm.
it causes you to say, after that, then you write down what are the actual thoughts. Oh, I think that my Christmas is going to be terrible because I'm not around my family, or,
Mhm.
no one's coming over, or everybody's coming over and they're going to get in a fight. It allows you to work that out.
Yeah.
And then it goes on. By the end of I won't tell you everything because you got to go back and get it. But by the end of it, it ends with gratitude, which, by the way, is another brain exercise. Okay. The
Big time.
exercise of gratitude, finding at least 5 things. Give me 5. There we go. 5 things I can be thankful for, and there's
Mhm.
always something.
Mhm.
Mhm. There
Wow.
is always something. And that's a big one right there.
Yeah.
The gratitude. I just posted on my Facebook yesterday something that I thought was really concise, and I love the way it said it. And it said, it's not the happy people who are thankful, it's the thankful people who are happy.
Ooh,
Mhm. Yep.
give me 5. Pow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
there you go. There you go.
I thought that was so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Said it very simply.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I love and I just heard a testimony. I'm trying to remember who it was who said this, but it was someone who was speaking to a large group, and she said, when I was growing up, I was in a very toxic household. There were alcoholics and there were a lot of different things going on. And she said, I had myself legally emancipated by the time I was 15, to tell you how bad, I felt like things were. But she said someone had given her something to do that literally changed her life. And she said it was her mom. Her mom handed her a blank journal. And she said, I want you to write down 10 things. I think it was just 5 things, actually, 5 things every day that you have to be thankful for. Do that every day. And she said, I started doing that, and y'all, it changes your brain.
It does.
She said, it literally changed my brain and made the world open up for me in so many ways. And I read the same sort of thing with that book. I don't know if y'all have seen it or not. It's called 1000 Gifts.
Yes, I remember you talked about that book.
Yes,
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 yes.
I love that book, and she was doing the same thing. She decided to start a journal and just start writing down the things that she was thankful for, and she thought at first, "Well, let's see if I can get to 100." Well, she blew past 100 in no time, and she still had things she was thankful for, so she kept on writing, and before you knew it, she was at 1,000, and she said, "And I knew then, I'm never gonna stop this because every day there is still more to be thankful for."
And that's beautiful because here goes another brain exercise that she was doing in the midst of that. I remember you talked about that, Nina. She was practicing mindfulness, just being right there in the moment and looking at, I'm thankful for texture of this painting. I'm thankful for this
Yes.
color. I'm thankful for this smell, that I can smell cinnamon right now and that I can actually smell.
Mhm.
I remember you talking about that. And so that's another brain exercise that people can do to help thrive during the holidays, and it's really important to attack those ants because they can literally wreck your whole life. They can wreck everything if we let them go unaddressed, right?
Mhm.
And so even when people are going to do the next thing that I'm going to tell them about, which is number 4 out of give me 5, is going to be connection with people. But before we deep dive into that, just understanding that I have the power to reframe, I have the power to live in the moment, I have the power to be grateful, to give myself compassion, right? I have the power to do these things as I go throughout the holidays. I can get myself prepared for this connection I'm about to have with people by getting outside, by exercising, by addressing some of my ants that I may have with the people I'm going to go spend time with before I get there so that I can be in a better frame of mind around them. Right. And so, number 4 in our Give Me 5 is going to be connection. During these holidays, it is so important to connect with someone, right? And for our audience that's listening, that they're introverts, they're people that really prefer to be alone and by themselves. There's so much research that shares that lets us know, even though that may be our disposition, it is important to challenge ourselves sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes to challenge that desire to just be to myself in myself and to connect with other human beings, right? But now we want some tools so that when we connect with people, it can be as positive as an experience as possible, right? Using
Yes.
carefully as a positive experience as possible. And one of those ways that we can look at that as we think about connecting with people, number one, we know that loneliness can actually increase our risk for dementia, right?
That's true.
Dementia and
That's
Alzheimer's
true.
disease,
True.
right? It can increase our risk of depression even, right? And so these are things we want to do to help feed our mind by connecting with people. So it's not just about how to have a friend, but how can I help my mind be as healthy as possible? And one of the ways is to connect with people, because people do challenge us and we don't have to be afraid of being challenged by others, right? We just have to know how to deal with it when it happens, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so I love this because, and I had to write this down again too, but when we think about this, one of the things that will be helpful is, as I'm going to connect with people, being able to have boundaries. Maybe there's a couple that are going to go and see their in-laws, and let's say the husband doesn't feel that good about being around the in-laws, right? He feels like he has a negative time around them. Maybe he feels judged by them, or just uncomfortable. He
Yeah.
can set a boundary and say, honey, I'm glad that we're going to, or maybe I'm not glad, but honey, I know we're going to go and we're going to visit your parents, and I'm with you on this. However, I can stay the weekend, but not 10 days,
Right.
I
Right.
gotta tell you something. I had a girlfriend one time, and I like having really good connections with my girlfriends.
Yeah.
And me and her, we went through, just being out with friends and stuff like that. And me and her, we just had this thing. And I told her, I said, listen, I always want you to be beautiful and happy and just, be a lady. I'm gonna be a gentleman. If we're somewhere and something is not going right, and I mean, if you're just annoyed and it's time to go, we had a look that we could look at each other, and if she scratched her left eyebrow, that meant it's time to go.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have to make a scene. We didn't have to tip off anybody. It was just pure communication. If she looked at me and if I started scratching my eyebrow, she knew that meant 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, we had it like time. Like if we did this was like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and it was like,
Nice.
anyway, oh boy, and it wasn't, and we made sure, and I always told her, I said, listen, sometimes people do things to upset us and things like that. Save it for the car. Don't let anybody know. We could discuss it in the car. Let's excuse ourselves. And we had a way of just kind of exiting things. And if something just wasn't going right, and if we weren't feeling good, as you say, if you're not feeling good, sometimes you have to just say, well, I got another thing to do, and it's been wonderful. Gotta go. If it starts up, if you know that there is a pattern and it's going to start up, as soon as that pattern starts, you can kick and be like, well, gotta go, and pew, take off, and excuse yourself, because there's no sense in anybody having a bad holiday. You don't have to endure. You don't have to be verbally abused. You don't have to feel anything. It's okay to, like, as you say, allow yourself to feel, but whatever someone else's opinion is about you or where you are, because a lot of times people during the holidays, they if they're not married, they're like, how come you're not married? And they got all these questions and stuff like that. So some
Exactly.
people feel pressure for the holidays, and so
Exactly.
sometimes it might be better to do your own
Mhm.
thing, and like you said, set those boundaries.
I love that you said that because as I listened to you, you were hitting some beautiful tools there. Because another thing I heard you say was communication, right? So you and your partner, y'all had some secret codes, which I'm going to
Oh
use that.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
I told my
secret
husband
code.
about that. They had some secret codes. This was 10 minutes. This was 5 minutes. Being
Yeah.
able to have communication with each other to know, like, hey,
Mhm.
this is what we can endure and this is what we will not endure. And
Right.
even maybe
Mhm.
setting it beforehand too. For some of us, we may need to tell mom or dad, hey, mom and dad, we're coming, but we'll only be able to stay so much time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We'll be able
Right.
to be here for
Right.
2 hours, but we've got to go because, or maybe you may not have to explain why. This is what we can do at this time. And
Mhm.
that is super
Mhm.
important. Listen, I wanted to throw some things out there, and if you allow me to just read them, ways to connect with people. Maybe if you are like, you don't have family
Mhm.
around you right now, you're in a place where maybe you're deployed, you're in the military, or you're somewhere and you don't have access to your regular people that you would. These are things you can do. You can phone a friend, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Thinking about connection. I'm a senior citizen. It's cold. I don't want to get out, or I just don't feel good about getting out right now. Phoning a friend, or a long time no see, somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, but you still have access to them in some way. Being able to reconnect with them can feel really good.
Mhm.
Booking a coaching or therapy session, because some of us may feel like, you know what? I don't want to talk to friends. I don't want to talk to family, but I still need to connect. Booking a
Mhm.
coaching session and knowing that, hey, this may not be something I'm going to do long term, but there's an opportunity to talk to someone new and to talk to someone, period, right?
Mhm.
Here's another one: online dating. Ooh. Some of us are like, the people that are around me don't really seem like an option, but I would like to, just kind of see what's
Mhm.
out there. And online dating has its pros and cons, obviously, but it's just a thought, so you can look into that. Online dating. People can visit their local church or community for different events that may be going on right now. So
Mhm.
if you feel
Mhm.
like you can't be with the people you love, there may be people right in your local community that are, I know a lot of people around here, there's candlelight services happening, Christmas plays that
Mhm.
are happening on Christmas Day, but even after, which
Mhm.
leads me to another one.
And
Con-
there's snacks, and there's always
oh, yes, refreshments are always wonderful, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I want us to also think about in the connecting with people, not being married to December 25th, because we know historically December 25th isn't actually Jesus's birthday. It's a man-made holiday that people came up with and said, "Hey, we'll celebrate Jesus's birthday, on this date."
Mhm.
And so we can celebrate Christmas anytime, honestly, but
Mhm.
maybe your celebration can happen before the
Mhm.
25th, or it can happen after.
That's
You
right.
can have a celebration in commemoration of Christmas, in commemoration of family or gratefulness. You can
Mhm.
pull
Mhm.
something together around this time of year, but it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be on the 25th.
And
You don't have to be married
surprise
to that date.
and surprise gifts are always a good thing. And it's pretty neat. Sometimes maybe it could be financial that you can't give a person a gift now, but if you can later and say, "Hey, thought I missed you, didn't you?
Mhm.
Ha! Merry Christmas is belated," and so people go, "Oh, wow." So surprise gifts are always good.
Right, right. And I saw that they said, hey, I don't know about online dating, maybe finding someone through church. I feel you on that. There's just
Mhm.
different strokes for different folks, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And I want to also consider this, which was something really cool. When COVID was happening and there was lockdowns and things like that, a lot of times people did Zoom parties and Zoom
Yeah.
get-togethers.
Mhm.
But this is a tool we can still use. And I don't know if some
Oh,
people would feel like,
yeah.
no, I don't ever want to do that again. But I want, consider the idea of doing that again.
Mhm.
Hosting a big Zoom party. We're gonna get together and we're gonna
Mhm.
Zoom is actually free for like 30 minutes, and so we're gonna
Mhm.
get on
That's
here, we're
right.
gonna do it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just the way to connect and just get that boost of endorphins that I connected
Mhm.
with people and it felt good, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
time limited, right? If you do the free one. So now you don't have to feel like, oh, we're going to be on here for a long time, like I'm trapped. Well, it's going to end.
Right.
Isn't
Whether you
it?
want it to or not.
Right, right. I mean, yeah.
Wow.
So these are just some ways when we think about the number 4 out of 5 and being able to connect and understanding that connection is not about
Mhm.
forcing ourselves to be around people, but the idea of it's really going to be helpful for my brain in
Mhm.
some way or another to connect with someone, right?
Mhm.
And you also have to know, there have been many, many times that I've had people say, "Don't go to that. Oh, don't go. I wouldn't go. Don't
Right.
go." And then I go, and guess what? I met someone there. There was a great connection. It was a blessing that came out of it. And I tell people all the time, a lot of times sometimes when, you know, when you might not want to feel like going somewhere, if you go and you have, you know what, I'm going to make the best of this, and you have your mindset that you're going to make something good happen, or you're going to expect something good, it will come. Something will come
Mhm.
out of it. And it might just
Mhm.
be a small thing. Heck, it might be a really great dessert at the
Yeah.
party or whatever. You might, well, everything else didn't work out, but that dessert was fantastic, you know?
Right. I love that. I love that, like finding something, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
That you could be grateful for. That's so
Yep.
good. I know
Mhm.
we're almost out of time, but we have to get to number 5, right? We
5,
have to
go,
get to
Yes.
number
go.
5. When we think about give me 5, right? We've talked
Mhm,
about the power of our childhood experiences coming back into our daily lives. And so getting outside for fresh air and sunshine,
mhm,
exercising, being so powerful for us, being
mhm,
able to address, do brain exercises of different kinds,
mhm,
especially addressing automatic negative thoughts is one of those exercises.
mhm,
We talked about connection and connecting with people and how powerful and important it is. And the last one that I would want to share is trust in divine power.
yay.
Mhm.
Trust in divine power, trust in God. And this is huge, especially, some of us, I didn't necessarily grow up where Christian. I didn't grow up Christian. However,
Mhm,
I do remember somehow there were times of prayer in our
mhm,
family, right? And
mhm,
even if you think about this from a childhood perspective, as children, we trusted in someone bigger than us to take
mhm,
care
Mhm.
of us. We trusted
right,
that there would be someone to come to our rescue and to come to our help. And
mhm,
while that may not have been our family members, right?
mhm.
Somehow we've made it to being an adult because there was a rescue,
That's
there
right.
was an intervention,
Mhm.
there was help, there was support. That's how we got this far,
That's
right?
right.
And so
Mhm.
when we think about trusting in divine power, it's really important that number one, we think about our God concept and how do we see God. Baylor University did a really telling study, and we're just about out of time, so we can't go deep into it. But they
Mhm,
did a study years ago, I think it's back in 2005, where they said America had 4 gods that they believed in, and all the God concepts that Americans believed in were negative except for one, and that was a benevolent God as a benevolent God. And the smallest
Mhm.
percentage believed that God was benevolent. The majority of
Mhm.
people believed that God had a negative view of God, a very terrible view of God.
mhm,
And it actually impacted their relationships in their daily life, whether they realized it or not. And
mhm,
so I know when I was thinking about putting this together today, I had to challenge my own thoughts about God because
mhm,
I can very easily decide that I don't want to trust God because he let this happen and he let this happen
Mhm.
and he didn't stop this or this is going on. And I had to really think like, hey, wait a minute, you know, trusting in God, there's research and
mhm,
it's so good. As I was preparing for this, there's research that has been done that showed people who had a strong spiritual faith,
mhm,
when they did MRI scans of their brain was so much more robust and healthy in the areas where people who had depression and anxiety and no strong
mhm,
faith, it was such a marked difference,
mhm,
right?
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
people whose MRI scans, they had a strong faith and a strong spirituality versus those who did not. It
mhm,
was just
Mhm.
telling. And so science is even allowing us to see that having trust in God, having a faith and a spirituality and a power greater than yourself, a
Mm,
belief that there is a force or an entity that cares for me, that loves me, that is on my side,
mhm,
that will work things out for my good, even if things are terrible right now, that
mhm,
all things actually work together for my good, that even if I'm being chastened, it's he whom he loves he chastens, right? If I don't
Mhm.
love you, I
Mhm.
don't correct you. I let you go on off that cliff, right? But if I
Mhm.
love you, I will correct you. I will help you, right? Having the belief that is there is someone for me, even if no one else is there, and it's greater than me. It's outside of myself. Is
mhm,
so healing, and it's
Mhm.
centering, and it's that thing that can keep us when nothing else can, when none of the other tools will work.
mhm.
This
Mhm.
tool is the best of all tools, a trust that
Yeah.
God is with me, that he cares for me and that he loves me, and everything that has happened, looking for where was the support and where can
Mhm.
I see
Mhm,
love in it, even if the love doesn't seem warm and
Mhm.
fuzzy, because
mhm,
love isn't always warm and fuzzy. Yeah.
mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm. That's right.
When
That's right. I,
Mm,
I tell you, that puts me in mind of the scripture that says God has demonstrated his love toward us in that while we were yet sinners,
mhm.
Christ died for us. And the
Wow.
beauty, part of the beauty in that to me is I don't think there was a person standing at the foot of the cross that day who looked up at what was happening to Jesus and said, "Oh, wow, isn't this wonderful?" I'm
right.
sure everyone was
Mhm,
saying, "How can this be? We thought he was the son of God, now he's dying and this is terrible. And even if he wasn't the son of God, just what's happening to him is terrible. It's a terrible thing." And
mhm.
yet the scriptures tell us he was slain from the foundation of the world. It was in
Mm,
God's plan all along.
Wow.
So, what that tells me is that from the beginning, God has been intentionally
Mhm.
planning to and working everything for our good, even when we don't understand it, even
That's
when
right.
we misunderstand it and we get angry at Him because we
mhm.
think, I don't understand what you just did, Lord. It looks terrible to me. And He's saying, I know, but I'm seeing the end from the beginning.
Right.
And you can
Right.
trust me that I am working all things together for your good.
For you
And we
good.
have the evidence of that already at the cross.
And
Absolutely. Oh,
and
sorry.
the one thing that I have to say, because I know we're getting tight on time, but it is like when I see one of the things that I really work on is I will doubt government, people, family, friends. I will doubt all. I will doubt myself
Yeah.
before I doubt the Lord. Because when things are going on in life, you have to understand he's so magnificent. He's so big. He knows the beginning. He's the Alpha and the Omega. So he already knows. So whatever I experience, I go, I don't like this. I don't like the way this feels. I don't like the way this looks. However, there has got to be, and even when the worst of times, if you can just hold on for a second, you'll realize I got through this. As you
Yeah.
were saying, Mia,
Yeah.
look at our age. We are at things that you thought was going to kill us way back when.
Mhm. Mhm.
Loss of jobs and relationships and people,
People.
friends, and all kind of
Right.
crazy stuff. But when you look, you go, man, that was 5, 10 years ago. And instead
Mhm.
of holding on to those negative thoughts,
Yeah.
put all that stuff in the past. Say, you know what? Whatever is behind me is behind me. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna keep turning around and messing with it and fumbling with it. If it's behind me, be it relationships, past whatever, past
Mm.
failures, whatever it is, leave it behind you. Keep your eyes focused ahead. Keep
Mhm.
praying and keep moving forward. That's what I try to do.
And I love
Amen.
that. And just if I may, in the last, I guess, 30 seconds, I
Mhm.
look at sin as an illness. right? An illness, because I used to get upset, with Christians and people trying to share the faith with me. And, they'd be like, you're a sinner. And I'm like, but I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be created. It's not my fault. I'm angry. Don't tell me this, And that was just how I thought about things, but I remember hearing a lecture where the person was talking about sin as an illness. No, you didn't, and thinking about when God is working with us and he's helping us, he sees it as an illness and a condition. And so, and considering that, even when you come to hard passages in the Bible where you're like, oh, how could God have told the Israelites to do this, or how is this? Consider a condition, that there's a condition. Sin is a condition that people are dealing with. And whether or not they decide to get the remedy or to get the help, it's totally up to us, and you're not in trouble for your condition, but whether or not you allow yourself to be healed, to have the remedy, which is Jesus, right? Which is all that he is working in your life, is totally up to you. And whether or not you will die from your condition, or you will take the medicine, right? Which will lead to health and healing, even if we're on this earth. It's totally up to us. And it's a whole nother conversation, right? To discuss faith and belief as we look at our mental well-being. And it's totally worth another show. But
yes.
but
which means we'll have you back.
But
there you go.
Now, I just pray that, that the person that is looking on, that you consider giving faith a try again, and I know it's hard. I personally know it's hard. You know what I mean? And it's a decision that I actually make every day, that I'm going to give my faith a try again, because I see how helpful it is to land in that place that I'm actually cared for on a divine level. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Well, Mia, it's always great being on with you. Thank you again. Happy holidays to everybody. Pain Unwasted, Mia Powell. God bless you, Mia. Thank you for all those. Give me 5. That's right, everybody. Remember, listen to it. Watch this again. If you missed any of it, go back. It's definitely podcasted here on YouTube. And we've got so many great things. Christian Podcast Channel. You can definitely check it out. So remember, everybody, take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Enjoy the holidays. I'm going to let Nina close it out.
As always, y'all, be of good courage, because God is with us and we aren't alone. Happy holidays, everyone, and Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
God bless. See you next time.